Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Mark with Niche Authority Empire, and we are going to continue on with our Digging Up the Data module to talk about the customer lifetime value. Now, there's two ways we can kind of assess this. One is some people might not be super comfortable going in that direction, especially if you find yourself being more of an introvert. But if you get out of your comfort zone a little bit, it's a fantastic way to network, create content, build relationships, and get the answers you need for these business models and kind of how the industry works. And we're actually going to really deep dive into the networking aspect via the interview and the Trojan horse method. But for now, we can use it to actually do some of the research that we want to do. So to find out the customer lifetime value can be as simple as Googling what is the lifetime value of a dental patient, for instance, or you can kind of flip and flop any industry or niche into a search, and you can start to pull up some data, right? And I'm not going to dig super deep in this video. I want to try to keep these videos somewhat concise, but if you perform a similar search for some of the desired industries you'd like to tackle, you can kind of open some of these things up. And here's a PDF. It was put together. There's a lot of data in here, and it says the lifetime value of a client is like $1,600, a dental patient. I mean, I find that number to be really low, but the number's based on a study they did to what seems like a specific example, and it doesn't seem like the example was a nice sized dental office, and it doesn't seem like they've really had a lot of systems in place for customer retention and upselling and whatnot. I found a lot of these numbers to kind of be erroneously low, because if you jump over into another article from that search, it has the dental patient being at, let's take a quick look, anywhere from $10,000 to $45,000 over a 20-year lifetime. Now, there's a lot of different metrics in here that are going to play, a lot of different KPIs, if you will. How often do they come back for cleaning, which is also dictated by the frequency in which they buy. What's your customer retention? What's the follow-up? There's a lot of smaller pieces to this puzzle that can improve these micro numbers. So we're going to talk more about them, but the main thing is it's going to vary drastically from business to business. So if you have the average Joe, just non-marketing dentist who he does the cleanings, he takes the patients as they come in, they don't have any type of referral strategy, there's no pieces in place for customer retention or to increase the frequency in which their customers buy, you're going to find these numbers to be a lot like this, where it's $1,600 or $1,700. If you have good systems in place and you have a lot of automated follow-up and just a lot of different pieces of the puzzle in place where people are really pushed, incentivized to come back into the practice every 6 months like they're supposed to, stuff like that. One of the biggest wins we made for a dentist was some software that automatically schedules people, and it sends out a series of emails and text messages and voicemail drops letting people know that their appointment's coming up, and really cool stuff, some different offers and stuff inside of those, just to really get them to engage and to show up for their appointment. And we took the average revisit was once every 18 months in this dental practice, and we decreased it to once every 8 months. So from a numbers perspective, we more than doubled that aspect of his business. On the cleanings and the checkups, we more than doubled that revenue. So being able to spot those micro KPIs and stuff is important, and being able to manipulate those are going to allow you to push the customer lifetime value through the roof. But just to get started, we don't need to analyze these numbers on a super granular level and come up with a specific data point. What we need to do is just understand that even at the lowest possible customer lifetime value, we're still in a position to make some money from this, right? That's decent profit margins, so they can spend somewhat aggressively to acquire clients. They can spend $500 to $1,000 per client and still turn a healthy profit. So keeping that in mind, the dental niche is definitely, I'm also in this niche, but the dental niche is a good niche to go after. So whatever industry you'd like to tackle, take some time and do some searches on Google. There's going to be a ton of data, a ton of information on just about every industry you could ever want to involve yourself in. Now, the second part of this strategy is actually, it's actually pretty simple. But if you would call a dentist, and we'll talk more about the Trojan horse interview method and a lot of different ways to leverage it, not just to create content to develop relationships, but for actual client acquisition. So, but basically getting on the phone with these people, and if you interview, quote unquote, interview a dentist and would say, hey, I'd like to feature you on, dental practice builders, whatever, dental practice autopilot.com or whatever it would end up being. I'd like to feature an expert dentist. Can we schedule a time, maybe 15 to 30 minutes where we could interview? Maybe the topic would be helping helping people start dental practices and whatnot. And, be a perfect time to ask about, the lifetime values. How often do patients return? And it also would give you a good indicator that if some of their numbers were low, you now have the first perfect customer to start pitching a service to. But I don't want to get into the acquisition end of things, but using a tactic like that, if you really appeal to someone's ego and say, hey, I'd really like to interview an expert in this space about, just get some value, help other people who want to aspire to be where you're at, and you can get some really good response from those. You can get a ton of inside information in the industry that you just won't find on Google. You're going to find out a lot of numbers that you can't find from a Google search. You're going to find out a lot of pain points that these business owners incur. So it'll help you develop your business strategy. It'll help you build your sales cycle. It'll allow you to speak to these pain points and really improve the businesses. So there's the two easiest ways to really determine the customer lifetime value, and that CLV is going to change from business to business. Every business you run into is going to have a different CLV, okay? But just to be able to get an idea of what the initial sale looks like is really important to deciding which niche you want to establish yourself as the authority in. So I'll catch you guys in the next video, and make sure when you're done with this you start working on this. Get a few niches together, sit down, throw them in a spreadsheet or write them down in a notebook, and start performing this first step and say, hey, which one of these industries really can generate some cash? Which one of these industries are going to house business owners that can really afford someone of my stature to come in and help build their business? So once you get done with that, you get a few industries with some somewhat impressive CLVs. Go ahead and jump into the next video and we'll move along. Thanks, guys.